All right, so welcome everybody to Midweek Mindfulness. I am your host for today's show, Roger Mancastroppa. I go by Roger or Mac, whatever people are comfortable with, and I am delighted to be here as always, and grateful to all of you for your presence, your energy, and your openness to expanding your self-care, your sense of self, your connection to yourself, which then of course allows us to develop that connection with others. I was at the VA today. I'm a veteran, got out in the late 90s, and it's such an interesting thing to be in that community. There's a lot of camaraderie, there's a lot of connection with this common identity, that we share. It's a really neat thing. It's one of the things I love about the University of Richmond as well. There's a kind of a richness and a vitality to the connections that you make in when you spend time at the university. Leah and I had never really spent much time together until recently. We are on campus, and seeing each other was just like, yes, right? There's this wonderful sensation of the the physicality that we know so well over the remoteness. And I've worked in a lot of places, and as probably many of you can identify with, it doesn't always work out quite that cleanly, right? Sometimes it can be a little more challenging than that. And our relationships differ with each and every person that we encounter, whether they're family or they're coworkers or
open.
See, that's what did it.
or people that we just engage with in our daily lives. So for today's practice, what I thought we might do is a very old practice that's been around for a couple thousand years, and probably possibly significantly longer. But it's one that can really enrich those relationships that we're building. Again, like in kind of all things mindful, the first relationship is with ourselves, right? So connecting with, how am I feeling? What am I thinking? What is my body experiencing? Right, is where we always start. So we start by focusing on the breath, by focusing on the body, by the connection of those things. And in doing so, it gives us a chance to kind of release the input coming from the outer world so that we can focus on the inner journey. Once we're centered, right, and we connect with who we are and where we are and how we're feeling and what's going on inside as well as physically, then we can start to drop an anchor into this moment. And the anchor, of course, is our breath. And it doesn't have to be. It could be the sensation of your body. It could be your feet touching the ground when you're walking somewhere. It could be anything that's happening in the present moment. One of the great challenges we face as thinking beings is that we very often are distracted. Right? Our awareness is distracted from the present moment by all the little things that jump into our moment and pull us away. And so learning how to manage ourselves first gives us the ability to then to be able to extend that out beyond ourselves, so that we're able to also manage those other relationships, and in a way that is genuine, authentic, where we can really show up and we can make choices about what we want that situation to look like, what we want those relationships to look like in a very different way. I was engaged in conversations about the situation that is ongoing on campus, and kind of regardless where people find themselves in that process or in that conversation, what I was noticing was the part that seemed to me to often be missing was the vulnerability. We think of the need for strength, right, to support our position, to maintain our healthy boundaries, to sustain our sense of self. And that is definitely important, but where does it come from, right? Like, how do we fuel that sense of self? How do we manage those healthy boundaries, right? Those boundaries that we know are important. Do we do it out of a place of fear because we're afraid to not be able to manage them? Or are we coming from a place of knowing, right, within ourselves? Like, who am I? What am I experiencing? What am I noticing in my engagement in this moment? And then having the depth and the ability to hold all of those things in our awareness at the same time, and then be able to make choices about how we respond to that, which of course is why we practice, right? So that's why we're here today. And some of you may be here just to relax, and this will totally suffice for that as well. So you should be able to derive from this practice today whatever really feels good to you. But a lot of folks here have been coming very regularly, and so I want to also offer the opportunity for continued growth. So if you're new and you're just getting started, this will totally be a wonderful opportunity for you as well. If I start to suggest things or try things and you're not quite sure what I'm talking about, or if it doesn't quite feel comfortable, no worries. Just stay with the breath, stay with your body, stay with the sensation. Notice what's coming up in your mind, notice what's coming up in your feelings, and then come back to the breath, right back to the body, back to the moment. So no worries about that. But we're going to take time to check in with ourself first, so that we can then be in a place to be able to really connect with the people that we would like to connect with in our lives, or even the people that we wouldn't like to connect with, so that we can manage those situations that serve us and ultimately them even better than perhaps they have in the past. So again, thank you all for being here. I can't tell you how much it means that you're here today. So if you're new, we're going to start with a position, if it's comfortable, sitting nice and tall so that the spine is nice and tall. I found this helps keep me alert, because what we want is to be physically relaxed but mentally alert. So what I do is I sit with my spine nice and tall. I balance my head on top of my spine, which, right, it's like when you were a kid and used to balance that stick on the end of your finger, right? So we're sitting, we're balancing our head. So you might move your hands forward in your lap or pull them back toward your body, position your feet, but get that feeling for being able to sit very comfortably, very relaxed, yet very attentively. So, and now for some of us, if we're physically, this is not a comfortable position, then do whatever is necessary in order for your body to be comfortable. That is truly what's most important. And then, of course, we want to also keep our mental state, our mental state alert. Yeah. So go ahead and get settled into your position. And as per tradition, I will ring the bell to get us started. So if you're comfortable letting your eyes gently close, and if that doesn't feel comfortable, that's okay. Just pick out a spot where there's not a whole lot going on and let your gaze rest in that place. And just begin to notice that you're breathing. We so take our breath and our breathing for granted that very often we do it completely unconsciously. So just take a moment and notice this amazing thing that our bodies do in order to connect and engage with the environment around us. Notice the sensation of the in-breath and that natural relaxation of the out-breath. Notice where in your body you feel it the most easily in this moment. Is it the tip of the nostril with the coolness of the in-breath and the warmth of the out-breath? Is it in the sinus or the back of the throat? Again, not touching those places, not manipulating them in any way, just notice. Where do I feel my breath moving in and out of my body the most easily in this moment, right now? It could change moment by moment, day by day. But right now, where do I really notice it? And then draw your awareness to that place. So you're really focusing on the sensation. Like really dive in deep to the feeling of the breath moving into the body and moving back out. And now, if it's comfortable, I would invite you to very gently and slowly begin to deepen the in breath, right? So we want it to move nice and slow, filling up the lungs, really noticing down. We're breathing down deep into the diaphragm, into the belly, into the floor. Feeling that body move into the body and just filling the lungs up, not to the point of bursting, just nice and full. So it's comfortably full. And then pause at the top just for a moment to notice the sensation of the feeling of the lungs being full and expanded. And is it in the chest? Is it down in the belly? Like, where do you feel the fullness? And then turn and slowly let that air out of your lungs, but we really want to extend it out to maybe a count of 8 or 9 or 10, if that's possible, if you're able to manage that. And if you're not, that's okay. Just do the very best with whatever you have and the ability you have in this moment to begin to intentionally activate our breath in a way that allows us to self-soothe and self-calm and bring our awareness to our body. Breathing all the way out until the lungs are empty, and then feeling the turn to where that exhale becomes an inhale. Pause at the top, long and slow on the out breath. Back in on the in breath. And as we breathe in, we're going to focus our awareness, really noticing the body, just sharpening the awareness, noticing where it enters the body and how that feels. And on the out breath, just noticing how your body just gets heavier and heavier, more and more relaxed with each out breath. We're activating the parasympathetic nervous system. We're relaxing our bodies in this moment. And as thoughts come up into the mind, as we begin to notice sounds in our environment or thoughts which come from the past, and they might use the present moment to compare things from the past or to project out into the future. That's a very normal process. It's here for a reason. We're not judging that in any way. It's a wonderful, beautiful part of keeping our bodies alive. But notice what your mind thinks is important. And on your next out breath, just release that thought. Just let it pass right on through. Taking note of it for later, but letting it pass through. Because right now we're going to focus very intentionally on our breath, on our breathing, on our bodies. We're taking this moment for us. Not for work, not for family, not for anything except for, some kind of serious emergency. And then you should definitely redirect your focus in that direction. Otherwise, relax the body and just focus the mind on being here and experiencing what's happening right now as we breathe in and breathe out. Now, ever so gently, let your in breath start to become a little less each time, which naturally will shorten your out breath. And just ever so slowly allow the body to take the breathing back over. Just let it have control while we focus on the sensation. Some of us will notice that our mind doesn't want to release control. We keep trying to control the breathing, and that's okay too. Just notice that because that's happening right now in this moment. No need to judge it in any way. There's nothing abnormal or unusual about it. Just notice it. It's not good or bad or right or wrong. It just is here and now. That's another one of those key mindfulness practices to release our judgment. Letting the body get heavier and heavier. Let your hands sink into your lap. Let your legs sink into the chair, the cushion, the floor. Just let gravity pull you down toward the center of the earth with the perfect precision that it always does. Holds us ever so gently, just the perfect amount of force. Each time we wake up, and sometimes as we're falling asleep, there's this magical twilight between our dreaming and our waking state. During that time, our mind still remembers that anything is possible. And what we think of as imagination has been the source for each and everything we see around us that was ever crafted by another human. It's that same imagination that feels like ours, and yet maybe we're just tapping into it. During that time and place, it's easy to smoothly transition right out into the physical world of our everyday without losing a sense of connectivity with joy or even just gratitude. I don't say that to diminish gratitude, but often it gets a backseat compared to these other feelings and understandings. So next time you're waking up, before you get out of bed, see if you can connect with your heart. The heart is the center between the body and the mind. Between the gut brain, you have the heart brain, and then, of course, up here, the sensory brain on top of the neck. And it's the balance between the two. It's easy to feel gratitude for that beating heart that allows us to manage ourselves physically each and every day. It doesn't take long to place a hand over the heart or just to connect with the feeling and the sensation of the beating. And we can review how we understand ourselves to be in that moment in the light of the love that emanates from each and every one of us, from our heart. So we're infusing our consciousness, our conscious intent, so that our interactions, our engagements with others begin to be done with more compassion, more connection. So let's take just a moment and kind of restart our day by imagining imagine all the love and inspiration that you feel on a regular basis. Maybe picture a light there in the center of your chest and encourage it to glow from the center of the heart, radiating out through the body into the space all around us. Noticing when we imagine that, what happens? How creative it is. Does your mind object? That's okay. It's the job of the mind. Let it object. But meanwhile, bring your focus and your awareness back to the sensation of the heart, the glowing up from the heart center. Feel the frustration seem to melt away. See if you can feel that love and gratitude just for the sensation of being able to notice the sensation, to be grateful for the ability to breathe and to feel the breath, to have a body that works with whatever level of ability it works, in whatever way it works and manifests. See if you can reach out with those feelings and notice other people in the room, in the house, at work, across the planet, maybe off the planet, I don't know. See if you can feel the others in your life. And now gently coming back to the breath. Notice how you feel at this time in this place. Notice how your body feels. Notice what your mind thinks is important. As we begin to wiggle our fingers and wiggle our toes and gently bring our practice to an end, see if you can take this sensation of calm, of gratitude, of compassion. Just take it with you the rest of the day. And if it feels like it slips away, slip one hand over your heart, take a few breaths, and drop back in. And it is 1:30. So thank you everybody so much for being here for Midweek Mindfulness. Again, I'm Mac or Roger, and I'm so grateful for all of you. So take good care and we'll see you next week at Midweek Mindfulness.